Have you ever met someone who didn't need to say much, yet you felt drawn to them? Almost magnetically. Have you ever noticed how certain people command a room without raising their voice? How their very presence seems to shift the atmosphere? And have you ever wondered why? Why some people simply glow from within, while others fade quietly into the background? Unseen, unheard. Here's the truth. Charisma isn't born, it's built. It isn't about beauty, fame, or status. It's about energy. It's about a silent power that lives within you, waiting to be awakened. The kind of power that doesn't shout, but hums. That doesn't chase, but attracts. That doesn't perform, but radiates. Every one of us carries an aura, a field of energy shaped by our emotions, thoughts, and intentions. Some auras expand effortlessly, pulling the world closer. Others contract under fear, self-doubt, and exhaustion. But here's the secret. You can shape yours. You can grow it, polish it, own it. And in doing so, you begin to change not just how the world sees you, but how you see yourself. About pretending to be confident or learning tricks of charm. It's about remembering what's already inside you, that deep, magnetic force that's been waiting to rise. Together, we'll explore how charisma isn't performance, it's presence. It's not noise, it's stillness. It's the calm assurance that comes when your inner world aligns with your outer one. So as you turn these pages, or perhaps listen in quiet reflection, I invite you to pause, breathe, and begin a different kind of journey. One that doesn't demand you to become someone else, but calls you to become more of who you truly are. Let this be your call to action. To awaken the energy that's been dormant. To walk into rooms with quiet confidence. To speak less, but mean more. To carry yourself, not with effort, but with essence. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more presence. And that presence could be yours. Chapter 1. The Silent Question. Have you ever paused long enough to hear your own silence? Not the kind that comes when the world is quiet, but the one that comes when you are. That gentle, unspoken space between thoughts, where you can finally feel who you really are. That silence is where charisma begins. Most people think charisma is noise. A bright laugh, a powerful story, a confident stride. But real charisma is born in stillness, in that quiet, grounded place inside you where nothing needs to prove itself. It's the calm that enters a room before you do. The sense that you belong, not because anyone told you so, but because your energy says, I'm home here. I remember once meeting a man who barely spoke. He wasn't the tallest, the loudest, or the most striking person in the room, yet everyone noticed him. When Ace smiled, it was small. Just a hint of warmth, like sunlight through morning mist. When Ace spoke, people leaned in, not because he demanded attention, but because he carried peace. And in that peace, others found safety. That day, I realized something. Charisma isn't what you do. It's what you become. We spend so much of our lives trying to impress, trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to be liked. We wear personalities like costumes, thinking that if we just play the role well enough, the world will finally applaud. But the truth is, charisma fades when it's performed. The aura weakens when it's built on effort. The most magnetic people are not those trying to be anything. They are those who have stopped trying altogether. There's a subtle kind of freedom in authenticity, a liberation that comes when you no longer chase attention, but command it effortlessly. Not by wanting it, but by deserving it. Through alignment, and alignment begins with awareness. So I ask you this, who are you when you're not performing? When no one's watching? When no one's applauding? Who remains? It's a frightening question, isn't it? Because most of us spend years defining ourselves by reflections. By what others think. By what we achieve. By how we appear. We mistake validation for connection. Applause for love. But there's another way to live. A deeper way. Imagine walking into a room and not wondering what others think of you. Imagine your energy doing the talking before your words ever arrive. Imagine presence that feels like gravity, effortless, grounded, undeniable. That's not arrogance. It's resonance. True charisma doesn't pull people toward you through force. It invites them through peace. It's like the ocean, powerful yet still, vast yet silent. You can't resist it because it doesn't need to push. In psychology, there is something called limbic resonance. The way human beings unconsciously sync their emotional states with those around them. When someone is anxious, the room feels tense. When someone is grounded, others soften. The science is clear. Energy is contagious, but charisma is the art of choosing what kind of energy you want to share. That's why it begins in silence, because silence teaches you how to feel your own vibration before projecting it outward. You can't create an aura of calm if you haven't made peace within yourself. You can't inspire others if you're still running from your own reflection. The aura expands only when you stop hiding from it. So start there in the quiet. Sit with yourself, even if it's uncomfortable. Let the noise of comparison fade. Let the endless scrolling stop. Let your breath find its rhythm again. That's when you'll notice the glow doesn't come from trying to shine. It comes from clearing the dust that's been covering your light all along. There's a strange paradox in charisma. The more you chase it, the further it slips away. But the moment you surrender, the moment you stop chasing and simply stand still, it finds you. And maybe that's what the truly magnetic people understand. They aren't loud because they want to be heard. They're loud because silence has made them clear. When you think of the people who have moved you most, mentors, friends, leaders, chances are they didn't overwhelm you. They didn't fill every silence with words. They let you feel them. They gave you space to find yourself in their presence. That's the secret of charisma. It doesn't dominate space. It creates Italiano. So tonight, when the world quiets down and it's just you and your thoughts, listen for that stillness. That's not emptiness. That's power. That's the beginning of your aura waking up. And tomorrow, when you step into the world, don't try to impress anyone. Don't try to stand out. Just be. Walk with awareness. Breathe slowly. Look people in the eye with ease, not demand. Smile when it's Rio. Speak only when you mean it, and watch what happens. Because when you stop seeking attention, attention seeks you. When you stop chasing approval, respect begins to follow. When you stop trying to shine, you start to glow. That's the silent question. This journey begins with not, how can I become more charismatic? But how can I return to who I really am? Because that's where all charisma lives. In authenticity, in stillness, in truth. And if you can learn to rest there in that sacred space between your breath and your being, you will no longer need to become magnetic. You will simply be. Chapter 2. The aura within. Have you ever felt someone's presence before they spoke a single word? That quiet hum in the air, the unspoken warmth that seems to wrap around the space they enter. It isn't their perfume, or their posture, or even their smile. It's something deeper, something unseen, yet undeniable. That's their aura, and whether you realize it or not, you have one too. Your aura is the invisible echo of your inner world. It's the emotional fingerprint you leave wherever you go. It's not mystical or impossible to understand, it's simply energy. The kind that whispers your truth when you're silent. The kind that lingers after you've left. Think of it like this. Every thought you carry, every emotion you repeat, every belief you hold, they all vibrate at a frequency. Together, they create your field, your atmosphere, your aura. And this energy doesn't lie. You can wear the finest clothes, say all the right words, perfect your smile, but if your energy is restless, the world feels it. People may not know what's off, but they'll feel it, just as they'll feel it when your energy is calm, aligned, and open. Because the aura is honest. It's a mirror that reveals who we are beneath our performance. There was once a woman I met at a retreat in the mountains. She wasn't dressed in anything remarkable. Simple jeans, hair tied loosely, no makeup at all. But when she spoke, it was as if time slowed. Her eyes didn't dart. They stayed. Her laughter came from somewhere deep, unheard. And as she sat among strangers, she made everyone feel like they belonged. Later, someone asked her what her secret was, how she managed to have this glow. She smiled gently and said, "I just stopped pretending." That stayed with me, because the aura doesn't bloom from perfection. It blooms from honesty, from the quiet courage to be seen as you are unpolished, human, and real. So often we think the aura is something to build outwardly, through appearance, influence, or affirmation. But the truth is, the aura expands inward first. It's built in moments when no one is watching. In the silence of forgiveness, in the patience of restraint, in the softness of compassion, both for others and for yourself. Have you ever noticed how your energy changes when you forgive someone? Or when you finally let go of a resentment that's been weighing you down? That's your aura. Clearing, brightening, expanding, becoming lighter. And in the same way, when you hold anger, guilt, or jealousy for too long, your energy becomes dense. It tightens. The world feels smaller. Opportunities seem farther. You speak, but the words fall flat. That isn't bad luck. That's vibration. Everything, from your relationships to your career, responds to the tone of your energy. You can't fake your frequency. The aura translates your emotion into a language the universe understands clearly. It's why some people attract kindness, while others attract chaos. Their energy is simply calling for it. This is not magic. This is awareness. If you want to shift your aura, don't start by changing your surroundings. Start by changing your state. Ask yourself gently, what energy am I living in right now? What emotion am I repeating daily? Because that emotion becomes your signal. When you radiate peace, people feel safe with you. When you radiate passion, people feel alive around you. When you radiate gratitude, life mirrors it back in abundance. The aura, then, becomes not just your reflection. It becomes your magnet. But here is the part most people miss. Your aura isn't about being perfect or positive all the time. It's about being real, but choosing consciously not to let fear dominate your energy. You can be sad and still radiant. You can be uncertain and still magnetic. Charisma doesn't require you to be unshakable. It only asks you to be present. Present is the language of the aura. When you're fully here, not in the past, not in the future, your energy expands. You stop leaking power into worries and regrets. You stop rehearsing conversations that never happened. You begin to glow, not because life is easy, but because you've finally come home to this moment. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe in now. Exhale. Slowly, that feeling of calm spreading through your chest. That's your aura responding to attention. It's been waiting for you to notice it. You don't have to chase this energy. You simply have to stop scattering it. Every time you compare yourself, every time you rush to prove your worth, every time you live from fear instead of trust, a little of your light leaks away. But when you pause, breathe, and realign with truth, it returns. This is why some people feel magnetic without saying a word. Their aura is coherent. Their inner and outer worlds match. There's no mask, no friction, and because of that, they don't need to convince anyone of who they are. Their energy does the speaking. Imagine a life where your aura walks into the room before your words, where opportunities align because your energy feels like clarity, where people remember not what you said, but how they felt when you were near. That's the life you're capable of creating. But it begins not with effort, it begins with awareness. So as you move through your day, I invite you to practice a quiet experiment. Don't focus on doing more or achieving more. Just observe your energy. Notice what you give off in silence. Notice how people respond when you're calm, when you're kind, when you're centered. You'll see the aura within you is not something you need to find. It's something you need to remember. It's the part of you that never left, only waited beneath the noise. And when you finally live from that space, when your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to align, you'll find that the world moves differently around you. Not because it changed, but because you did. Your aura speaks the language of truth, and truth always attracts its own. Chapter 3. The Psychology of Presence. Have you ever watched someone who seemed to slow down time? Not because they moved slowly, but because they were fully there. Every gesture deliberate, every glance grounded, every word carrying weight simply because it came from presence. Not performance. That is the psychology of presence. Presence is not about being seen. It's about seeing. It's about occupying this exact moment, undistracted by the echoes of the past or the noise of what's next. It's when your mind, body, and energy finally synchronize, creating a feeling of stillness that others can sense, even if they can't explain it. In psychology, presence has roots in mindfulness and attunement. The ability to remain connected to your inner world while remaining deeply aware of what is happening around you. But beyond theory, presence is a kind of peace, a calm knowing that you are enough, right here, right now. And yet, for most of us, presence feels foreign. We live in a world that rewards speed, not stillness. We rush through conversations, multitask through emotions, and rarely pause long enough to notice the moment breathing right in front of us. The mind keeps racing. What next? What more? What if? And in that noise, we lose ourselves. But the truth is, charisma can't exist without presence. Because without presence, you're not really here. You're only projecting fragments of who you think you should be. Think of presence as emotional gravity. It anchors you. It makes people feel safe around you because they can sense that you're not drifting away inside your own head. You're here, listening. You're not waiting to speak, not rehearsing a reply, not trying to impress, you're simply receiving. And that energy is magnetic. People crave presence more than they crave praise. They don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. And that feeling comes from how present you were with them. I once spoke to a woman who had met a world-renowned leader years ago. She said, "He made me feel like the only person in the room." That's presence, not power, not fame, not status, but attention. Undivided, unhurried attention. There's a deep psychology behind this. When someone gives you full presence, your nervous system feels seen and it relaxes. Your mind opens. You feel safe. Safe to be real. And in that safety, truth is born. The SY charismatic people seem to build instant connections. They regulate the energy of the space. They don't enter a room seeking to take. They arrive to hold. Presence, then, is a form of emotional generosity. But it's also a discipline. Because to be present, you must first quiet the inner chatter that constantly pulls you away. You must make peace with the parts of yourself that are restless, fearful, or self-critical. The parts that whisper, "You're not enough." The human brain is wired to drift. Psychologists call it the default mode network. That constant inner narration that replays memories and simulates futures. But the charismatic mind learns to pause that loop. Through breath, awareness, and intention, they step out of thought and into being. You can feel it, even in simple moments. Try it now. Take a slow breath in. Let it out, gently. Notice how the air feels in your chest, how your shoulders soften, how your thoughts begin to slow. That subtle shift, that's presence beginning to form. And when you practice this state, again and again, your mind begins to rewire. Neuroscience shows that mindfulness and grounded awareness reshape the brain's stress circuits. You become calmer, more emotionally balanced, more confident. People feel it in your tone, your eyes, your silence. Because presence doesn't need to announce itself. It simply arrives. The most magnetic individuals, leaders, artists, lovers, visionaries, all share one quiet truth. They are fully alive in the moment they inhabit. When they look at you, they're not thinking of the next appointment. When they speak, they're not distracted by their phone. They're right here. And in their here, you feel the sacredness of attention. It's no coincidence that presence and charisma rise together. Both are born from authenticity, from being comfortable enough in your own energy that you no longer rush to escape it. Because when you're not afraid of silence, you can finally listen. When you're not rushing to fill space, your words gain power. When you're not fragmented by distraction, your energy becomes whole. And wholeness is what the world feels as charisma. Presence is not taught. It's remembered. It's our natural state. Before fear began to teach us to hurry. Before we learned that stillness meant weakness. Before we started performing for love instead of embodying it. Every moment offers you a doorway back to presence. A pause before you speak. A breath before you react. A heartbeat before you judge. In those small choices, your aura expands. And slowly, people begin to feel something different around you. They start to soften. They trust you faster. They listen longer. Because deep down, presence is low, not romantic love, but the universal kind that says, I see you, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. Imagine what would happen if you carried that energy into every interaction with your family, your clients, your friends, even strangers. Imagine the kind of peace that would ripple outward if your presence became your message. That's charisma in its purest form. Not performance, but peace made visible. So as you move forward on this journey, remember this simple truth. Your presence is your power, not your title, not your looks, not your words, your being. And every time you slow down enough to truly arrive in this moment, your aura strengthens, your confidence deepens, and your life begins to rearrange itself around your calm. That is the psychology of presence, and the first true step toward the kind of charisma that doesn't fade with applause, but grows in silence. Chapter 4. Charisma and Authenticity. Have you ever met someone whose presence just felt real? Someone who didn't try to charm you, didn't try to impress, and yet you found yourself leaning in, drawn not by what they said, but by what they didn't say. That's the essence of authentic charisma. Not the loud spark of performance, but the quiet glow of truth. So many people spend their lives trying to appear charismatic, rehearsing lines, mimicking body language, memorizing techniques that promised influence. But the truth is, no one remembers a performance for long. They remember the feeling of being seen, being understood, being safe, and only authenticity can create that. Charisma that comes from performance fades. Charisma that comes from truth lasts. The mistake we make is believing that charisma is something external, something we must add to ourselves, like makeup, clothing, or social polish. But real charisma is subtractive. It's not about adding more. It's about removing what's false. Every layer of pretense peeled away reveals another shade of your natural power. The world is full of people pretending to be confident, pretending to be happy, pretending to be whole. The performance is exhausting, isn't it? Because deep down, we know when we are not living our truth. We can feel it in the heaviness in our chest, in the moments we laugh too loud or smile too wide just to fill the silence. Authenticity is lighter. It's the art of no longer carrying the weight of who you think you should be. There's something magnetic about someone who's unapologetically themselves. Flaws, quirks, contradictions and all. They have nothing to hide. And that transparency gives them an effortless kind of strength. It's as though their energy says, I'm not perfect, but I'm real. And that honesty creates space for others to be real too. I once knew a speaker who transformed every stage he stood on. But it wasn't his words that did it. It was his honesty. He didn't posture or polish every sentence. He spoke as though he were in his living room, barefoot, sharing his truth with an old friend. He laughed at his mistakes, paused when emotions surfaced, and never tried to be more than human. And somehow, that made him extraordinary. When people left his talks, they didn't say he was impressive. They said he felt genuine. And that, right there, is the quiet miracle of authenticity. It disarms the world. When you're authentic, people don't just see you, they trust you. They stop scanning for hidden motives, because there aren't any. Your energy becomes transparent. You're no longer selling yourself. You're simply being yourself. And the truth of who you are speaks louder than any carefully crafted image. Charisma built on performance says, look at me. Charisma built on authenticity says, I see you. The difference may sound small, but it changes everything. Because when people feel seen, they open. Their guard drops. Their hearts respond not to your perfection, but to your honesty. In that space, connection happens not as a transaction, but as a meeting of energies. And that's what charisma really is. Emotional alignment made visible. The psychology of authenticity runs deep. Studies in behavioral science show that humans are wired to detect incongruence, that subtle mismatch between words and energy, expression and intention. It's why we sense when someone's being insincere, even when they smile. Our intuition picks up the gap between performance and truth. But when your inner world and outer expression match, when your words, tone, and body language all move in harmony, the brain of the person in front of you relaxes. They feel coherent. Their defenses soften. They trust your signal. So authenticity isn't just spiritual, it's biological. It's a neurochemical exchange of safety, and you can feel it in yourself too. When you're authentic, your energy flows without friction. You don't have to think about what to say next or how to act. You're not editing yourself in real time. You're present, calm/open. And in that openness, your charisma breathes freely. There's a line I often come back to. Truth has a tone. You can't fake it. You can't imitate it. You can only embody it. Authenticity gives you raw, that tone, the resonance of someone who has nothing to prove. And when you reach that point, your life begins to feel lighter. Opportunities come easier. Conversations feel deeper. And your relationships become more peaceful. Because authenticity is attractive, not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. In a world addicted to performance, honesty feels like a revolution. But don't mistake authenticity for blind. It isn't about saying everything you think, or revealing every wound. It's about being aligned, letting your actions match your truth, and your truth match your heart. It's the quiet integrity that says, I will not betray myself to be accepted. That's where your charisma begins to take form, not as an act, but as an atmosphere. When you walk into a room authentically, people can feel it. You don't compete for space, you create it. You don't crave validation, you emanate it. Because authenticity isn't loud, it's peaceful. And that peace, that wholeness, draws people closer than any charm ever could. Think about the people who've inspired you most. They weren't perfect. Some might have been flawed, complicated, even fragile, but their truth made them unforgettable. Their honesty gave you permission to be yourself. That's real influence, not making others want to be you, but helping them rediscover themselves. So if you want to be charismatic, start not by asking, how can I impress? But where am I still pretending? Ask yourself gently, where do I wear masks? Where do I hide my truth to be liked or loved or accepted? You don't need to judge yourself for the answers. You only need to notice them, because awareness is the first breath of authenticity. And once you begin to live from that awareness, once you stop negotiating with your own truth, something changes. The energy that once went into pretending becomes the fuel for your presence. The exhaustion of keeping up appearances turns into quiet power. The need for approval fades, replaced by a deeper kind of confidence. The confidence of knowing that who you are is already enough. When you reach that state, your charisma doesn't just influence rooms, it transforms them. Because authenticity has a ripple effect. When you're real, others feel safe to be real too. The walls drop, the masks fall, and in that shared humanity, something sacred happens. Connection, trust, resonance. So as you move forward on this journey, remember this. You don't need to create a charismatic personality. You already have one. It's just waiting beneath everything you've been told to be. Let your truth breathe. Let your flaws exist. Let your humanity show. Because in a world that's forgotten how to be real, the most charismatic thing you can ever be is yourself. Chapter 5. The Mirror Effect. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to draw kindness, admiration, and trust wherever they go, while others, just as capable, seem to go unseen? It isn't always about looks, success, or even confidence. It's something subtler, something that begins long before you walk into a room. It begins in the mirror. Not the glass one in your bathroom, but the silent mirror you carry inside, the one made of thoughts, beliefs, and self. That mirror is the first audience your energy performs for. It's where your aura takes its shape. The world doesn't see you as you are. It sees you as you see yourself. That's the mirror effect. Every expression, every movement, every tone of your voice is born from the quiet story you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. If your inner story is one of doubt, the world feels hesitation. If it's one of worth, the world feels warmth. If it's one of fear, the world feels resistance. People respond not to your words, but to the energy that lives beneath them. And that energy begins in the reflection you wake up to every day. There's a story I remember about a young artist who spent years painting portraits no one wanted to buy. He believed his work was never good enough, that his gift was ordinary, that he was destined to fail. Each time someone looked at his art, they somehow felt the same dullness he felt about himself. His paintings carried the vibration of his own doubt. Then, something changed. One morning, after months of rejection, he stopped painting for approval. He began painting for expression. He stopped asking, "Will they like it?" and started asking, "Do I love it?" Slowly, the energy of his work transformed. The colors brightened. The shapes became freer. People began to stop, to stare, to feel. His art hadn't suddenly become technically perfect, but it was now alive with the truth he had finally accepted. I am enough. That's the mirror effect in motion. The outer world shifting the moment the inner world changes its reflection. You see, your aura can't lie. No matter what face you show to others, your energy always reveals what you truly believe about yourself. If you secretly think you're unworthy, that belief leaks through your body language, in how you stand, in how long you hold eye contact, in the subtle tremor of your tone. If you believe you have value, people feel that too. In your stillness, in your comfort, in your ability to listen without shrinking. It's not arrogance. It's resonance. The energy you carry trains the world how to treat you. If you walk into a room doubting your worth, others will unconsciously mirror that doubt back. If you walk in grounded in self-trust, the world relaxes into your confidence. Humans are emotional mirrors. We reflect what we receive. Neuroscience explains this beautifully through something called mirror neurons, cells in the brain that mimic the emotional states of those around us. When someone smiles genuinely, your brain mirrors that joy. When someone walks in with tension, your body subtly tightens. Charisma, then, is partly the science of emotional contagion. The ability to influence how others feel through the energy you project. But here's the deeper truth. You can't project peace if you don't feel it inside. You can't radiate worth if you keep rejecting your own reflection. Many people chase charisma by learning techniques. Better posture, better tone, better words. But those things are surface ripples. The real transformation happens beneath, in how you see yourself when no one else is watching. Because what you believe internally eventually becomes what you broadcast externally. I once spoke with a client, a successful entrepreneur who, despite her achievements, struggled with visibility. She avoided cameras, hated speaking at events, and constantly downplayed her success. When we explored why, she confessed that deep down, she still saw herself as the insecure girl from her childhood, the one who was told to stay quiet. Her body had grown, her career had grown, but her self-image hadn't evolved with them. Her aura was still reflecting an old identity. We began working not on her posture or speaking skills, but on the relationship with her reflection. Every morning, she practiced looking into the mirror and saying one simple phrase, "I deserve to be seen." At first, it felt uncomfortable. Her mind resisted. Her heart doubted. But slowly, the words began to sink deeper than thought into belief. Weeks later, when she spoke at a conference, she didn't perform. She simply showed up, calm, real, radiant. Afterward, people told her how magnetic she was, how her voice carried a sense of quiet authority. She hadn't changed her technique. She'd changed her mirror. That's the secret. Most people miss charisma. Doesn't start in how others see you. It starts in how you see yourself when you're alone. If your inner world is clouded with self-criticism, your light dims before it reaches anyone else. But if your inner voice speaks to you with kindness, the glow multiplies. Your energy begins to feel safe, confident, trustworthy. And that's what draws people. Not perfection, but peace. So ask yourself, softly, without judgment, what story do I tell myself about who I am? Do I tell myself I'm behind, that others are more deserving, that I'm not ready yet? Or do I tell myself that I am learning, growing, becoming, and that my worth isn't conditional? The answers to those questions will shape not just how you feel, but how the world feels around you. If you ever doubt that your inner world matters, notice how energy behaves in simple interactions. When you speak to someone who's confident but kind, you feel uplifted. When you meet someone anxious or defensive, your own energy contracts. None of this is spoken aloud. It's the mirror effect playing quietly beneath the surface. And it works both ways. You're also a mirror to others. When you carry calm, you help others find theirs. When you radiate gratitude, it softens tension. When you live from authenticity, you give others permission to drop their masks. Your aura is both reflection and influence. The most charismatic people have mastered this balance. They see themselves clearly, and they allow that clarity to illuminate those around them. They don't seek approval because they've already given it to themselves. And that self-approval changes everything. Confidence that's built on external validation crumbles when praise fades, but confidence that's built on inner truth becomes indestructible. So how do you begin to polish your inner mirror? You begin by becoming aware of the voices that shape it. Listen to your self-talk for a day. Notice the subtle ways you diminish your worth, the jokes at your own expense, the apologies for simply existing, the constant measuring of yourself against others. Each of those small moments is a crack in your mirror, distorting how you see your light. Repair begins with recognition. When you notice a thought of self-doubt, don't fight it, simply observe it. Ask, whose voice is this? Often you will find it is not yours at all. It is an echo from childhood, from culture, from criticism. But you've carried it long enough that it became your own. The moment you see that voice for what it is, borrowed, you begin to reclaim your reflection. And as your inner clarity returns, so does your power. You don't need to be flawless to be magnetic. You just need to be in harmony with yourself, because harmony vibrates higher than perfection. The mirror effect, at its core, is about resonance. What you hold within becomes the signal you send without. The world will always mirror your energy back to you. If you want more love, start by loving your own reflection. If you want more respect, start by respecting the quiet strength within you. If you want to be seen, stop hiding from your own gaze. Look at yourself not through the eyes of judgment, but through the eyes of compassion. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are in progress. You are not ordinary. You are simply unfinished, and even in your unfinished form, you shine. When you begin to treat yourself that way, your aura expands, and suddenly, the world begins to see what you finally see. There's a moment in every person's journey when the inner mirror clears, when they stop performing, stop chasing, stop apologizing. And for the first time, they meet themselves. That moment changes everything, because once you see your own light, no one can convince you that you reign to dark. And from that point forward, your charisma becomes inevitable, not as an act, but as an echo of the truth within you. So the next time you stand before a mirror, pause. Don't rush to fix or judge. Just look. See the eyes that have carried you through everything, the body that's still standing, the spirit that still dares. Whisper to your reflection the words it's been waiting to hear. I see you. I'm proud of you. Trust you. And as those words settle quietly inside, notice the shift. Subtle, but certain. That's your aura. Adjusting, expanding, aligning. That's the world preparing to mirror back the light you've just remembered. Because in the end, the universe is one vast reflection. What you send out is always what returns. And your charisma, your success, your peace, all begin with the image staring back at you in silence. Chapter 6. The energy of confidence. What is confidence, really? Is it a loud voice, a straight back, a perfect plan? Or is it something quieter, something steadier, a pulse that hums beneath the noise of the world, whispering. Safer confidence isn't a costume you put on before stepping outside. It's not a speech you rehearsed or a smile you practice in the mirror. True confidence is an energy, an invisible rhythm that lives in your body, that speaks before your words do, that walks into every room ahead of you. People feel it long before they understand it. They might not know why they're drawn to you, but they can sense that you're anchored, that you trust yourself, that you're at home in your own presence. That's the energy of confidence. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't chase attention. It simply is. And yet, so many chase confidence as though it were an external treasure, a thing to be gained through achievements, applause, or appearance. But real confidence doesn't come after you succeed. It comes before, and it's what makes success possible in the first place. You see, the mind often plays a trick on us. It whispers, "When I'm better, I'll believe in myself." But the truth is the reverse. When you believe in yourself, you become better. Confidence is not the fruit of victory. It's the soil that allows victory to grow. But how do you cultivate that soil when doubt has lived there for years? You begin by listening to the energy you already carry. Every thought, every emotion sends a signal through your body. When you think, "I can't," your body contracts, shoulders tighten, breath shallows, heart rate quickens. When you think, "I can," your body expands, breath deepens, eyes lift, energy flows freely. Your body is a living mirror of your belief system. Confidence, then, isn't just mental, it's physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual. It's how aligned your inner world is with your outer actions. There's a quiet power in people who've learned to breathe through uncertainty, who can stand in the unknown without shrinking. That's what true confidence feels like. Not arrogance, not bravado, but a calm steadiness that says, "I can handle whatever comes." It's not about knowing you'll win every time. It's about knowing you'll still be whole even if you don't. Confidence is the ability to trust your own resilience. I remember meeting a woman at a leadership retreat years ago. She wasn't the loudest in the room, nor the most experienced, but every time she spoke, people leaned in. Her words carried gravity. Her presence commanded stillness. Later, when I asked her what her secret was, she smiled and said softly, "I've already met failure. I'm not afraid of it anymore." That's when I understood. Confidence isn't born from constant success. It's born from surviving your own fear and realizing you're still standing. The energy of confidence isn't loud, it's lived. Each time you face something that once terrified you and move through it anyway, your energy shifts. The space within you that used to hold fear becomes space that now holds faith. That SY growth feels uncomfortable, because confidence is literally expanding through the cracks of your old limitations. You earn confidence, not by pretending to be fearless, but by walking hand in hand with your fear and saying, "I'm coming anyway." That's what transforms your aura. Not the absence of fear, but your new relationship with it. Confidence is the art of befriending your edges. When you see confident people, it's easy to assume they never doubt themselves. But look closer. They doubt, just like everyone else. The difference is, they don't let that doubt decide for them. They've trained their energy to move anyway, even when the mind hesitates. Because confidence doesn't mean the voice of fear is gone. It just means it no longer has the final say. Every human being carries two voices, one that doubts and one that believes. Confidence is learning which one to feed. You feed belief by action. Small, consistent acts of self. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence grows a little stronger. Each time you speak up instead of staying silent, your energy learns to stretch. Each time you show up for your own goals, your aura remembers that you can rely on you. Confidence doesn't bloom from perfection. It blooms from consistency. Imagine your confidence as a flame. You don't light it once and walk away, you tend to it daily. With small acts of courage, with gentle self-talk, with forgiveness when you stumble. Because that's another truth. Confidence can't grow in the soil of self-criticism. If your inner dialogue is constantly harsh, your energy becomes brittle. You may appear confident, but it's a mask built on tension. Real confidence is soft. It doesn't need to prove. It simply trusts. Confidence says, I am enough now. Even as you grow, think of how a tree grows, not by shouting at itself to be taller, but by quietly stretching toward light. That's how your confidence grows. 2. Through gentle persistence. Not force. Sometimes, people mistake arrogance for confidence, because arrogance is louder, but they are worlds apart. Arrogance says, I'm better than you. Confidence says, I'm enough as I am. One divides. The other unites. True confidence never threatens anyone. It inspires. It carries an energy that says, if I can stand tall, you can too. That's why charismatic people are rarely the most dominant. They're the most rooted. Their calmness gives others permission to exhale. Their self-assurance becomes a silent invitation. You are safe to shine here too. That's the energy of confidence at its highest. Not self-centered, but self. And when you carry that energy, it flows into every part of life. Your words become steadier. Your relationships become deeper. Your decisions become clearer. Because confidence creates coherence, a unity between thought, action, and intention. The mind stops fighting the heart. The heart stops fearing the world. You become one seamless expression of trust, and the world feels that. You'll notice people start to respond differently. Strangers hold your gaze longer. Opportunities align more easily. You stop chasing and start attracting. Because when your energy radiates stability, the world leans toward it instinctively. We are all wired to seek calm amidst chaos. Confidence, when real, is that calm. But remember, you can't fake it for long. The body knows. The energy knows. If your confidence is just performance, it will exhaust you. The goal is to embody confidence, not imitate it. That embodiment begins with one shift, from proving to trusting. You no longer do things to prove your worth. You do them because you trust your worth. That's the pivot point where external success transforms into internal peace. Confidence doesn't demand attention. It draws it effortlessly. Because it's not trying to take energy, it's radiating it. When you meet someone like that, you feel it instantly. Their stillness speaks louder than noise. Their smile feels Their eyes carry the warmth of someone who knows their place in the world and doesn't need to justify it. That's the kind of energy that fills rooms, builds careers, and heals relationships. The energy of someone who finally believes they belong. If you've ever struggled to feel confident, you're not alone. Every person who radiates ease once walked through seasons of uncertainty. But what they learned, and what you can too, is that confidence is not the absence of insecurity. It's the decision not to surrender to it. You can build that energy gently from this very moment. Start small. Stand a little taller. Even when you're done to feel like Italiano. Speak kindly to yourself after mistakes. Keep one promise today. Just one. And notice how it changes your body's vibration. That's confidence growing in real time. Each of these moments accumulates, like drops of water carving stone. They reshape your identity from the inside out. And soon, you won't have to act confident. You'll simply be. You'll move through life with a quiet knowing that you can face what comes, that your voice has weight, that your presence matters. That's the energy that opens doors. Not because you demand entry, but because your light is too natural to ignore. So as you close this chapter, I want you to remember this. Confidence isn't something to find. It's something to return to. It's the part of you that already knows your worth, waiting patiently beneath the noise of doubt. Breathe into that truth. Feel it settle into your bones. Let it rise slowly, quietly, until it becomes the rhythm of your life. Because when you trust your own energy, the world does too. And that is the beginning of every magnetic aura, every act of success, every dream that dares to come true. Not through striving, but through believing, through being. That is, and always will be, the energy of confidence. Chapter 7. Presence. The power of now in charisma. When was the last time you truly felt here? Not Alf. Era not distracted. Not watching yourself from the outside. But fully, completely present. Grounded in the moment. Awake to everything and everyone around you. That's presence. And it might be the rarest form of charisma in the modern world. We live in an age of divided attention. Even as you read these words, part of your mind may already be elsewhere. Planning, scrolling, remembering, anticipating. The world has trained us to multitask, to scatter ourselves thin across moments that barely touch us. But charisma, real charisma, lives only in the now. You can't be magnetic if you're absent. You can't draw others in when your energy is halfway somewhere else. Presence is the art of returning again and again to this moment, because only here, in the silence beneath awe, does your true aura awaken. Have you ever spoken with someone who made you feel like you were the only person in the world? Someone whose eyes didn't flicker toward their phone, who wasn't waiting for their turn to talk, who wasn't calculating or performing, just listening deeply, fully. That feeling, that warmth, that comfort, that pull is presence. It's not something they do. It's something they are. They're not performing connection. They're inhabiting it. Presence is magnetic because it's so rare. In a sea of divided minds, the person who's truly here becomes luminous. Your aura glows when your attention rests. Think about it. Most people move through life reacting, not responding. Their energy is always chasing the next task, the next validation, the next distraction. But when someone pauses, breathes, and simply is, they create stillness. And stillness is power. The world doesn't resist stillness. It surrenders to it. Presence is more than a mental state. It's an energetic alignment. When you're present, your body, mind, and spirit operate as one. Your energy becomes coherent, flowing in one direction instead of scattering in many. That coherence is what people feel as charisma. You can see it in the way present people move. There's no rush, no jitter, no anxious pacing. Their gestures are deliberate, their silence comfortable, their gaze steady but soft. They're not forcing impact, they're re-allowing Italiano, and that allowance is what makes them unforgettable. Presence isn't about filling space, it's about being the space. When you're deeply present, others instinctively relax. They feel safe, seen, valued. Your energy becomes a kind of sanctuary, a quiet permission for them to be real too. That's why presence and authenticity walk hand in hand. You can't fake presence. You can't perform stillness. The body always reveals what the mind hides. If your thoughts are racing, your energy pulses with restlessness. If your heart is calm, your energy radiates peace. Charisma, at its core, is an emotional transmission. And presence is the frequency that transmits most clearly. There's an old saying, where your attention goes, your energy flows. That's not just poetry, it's physics. Energy responds to focus. When you give someone your full attention, your energy literally moves toward them. They feel it not as something mystical, but as warmth, gravity, trust. That's why being present with others is the highest form of respect. It's also the foundation of influence, because when people feel your genuine attention, they open, their hearts soften, their minds listen. In presence, connection becomes effortless. But here's the paradox. You can't force yourself to be present. You can only allow it. You can't think your way into the now, because thinking itself is what pulls you out of it. Presence begins when thought quiets, even for a moment, and you remember the simple rhythm of breathing. Inhale, exhale. That's the doorway back to now. Presence begins with the body, with awareness of the breath, of the weight of your feet on the ground, of the sensations in your skin. The moment you anchor in those sensations, the mind begins to soften. It no longer needs to chase the next moment. It starts to trust this one. And as your energy anchors, your charisma deepens. Imagine two people walking into a room. One is scattered, thinking about what to say or to look, who might judge them. The other walks in slowly, aware of their breath, grounded in calm awareness. They look around gently, smile softly, and say little at first. Without realizing why, everyone in the room turns toward the second person. That's presence. It's not dominance, it's depth. Your presence tells the world, I am not rushing, I belong here. And that energy speaks louder than words ever could. There is a quiet secret in human psychology. People take emotional cues from those who appear most at ease. The nervous system looks for leadership through calm. That's why someone who's grounded naturally becomes influential. Others unconsciously regulate to their stillness. When you master presence, you stop needing to persuade. Your calm becomes its own persuasion. And it's not just for social influence. Presence transforms every part of life. In conversation, it deepens connection. In work, it increases creativity. In love, it awakens intimacy. In solitude, it brings peace. Because when you're present, you're finally living instead of rehearsing life. You begin to notice the way light moves across a room, the way someone's laughter has a texture, the way silence can hold meaning. The world becomes vivid again. Not something to rush through, but something to experience. Presence is how life reveals its beauty. But it takes practice, doesn't it? Because the mind loves the past and the future. It loves replaying what went wrong and predicting what might. It feeds on everything except now. The secret is to return gently, without force, each time you drift. When your mind wanders, don't scold it. Just notice it. Then breathe, and come back. Over time, those small returns to presence accumulate until stillness becomes your default state. That's when your aura begins to change in ways even you can feel. You'll notice that you move slower but accomplish more. You'll notice that silence no longer feels awkward, it feels full. You'll notice that people begin to linger in your company, drawn not by what you say, but by how you make them feel. That feeling, the sense that time slows in your presence, that is the highest form of charisma there is. It's the charisma of being here. When you're truly present, you dissolve the invisible distance between yourself and others. You meet them soul to soul, not role to role. In that space, hearts communicate in ways words can't match. Presence isn't about control. It's about surrender. To the moment, to your body, to the truth unfolding right now. It's trusting that who you are, right here, is enough. And when you trust that, your energy becomes whole. You stop leaking power into worries or pretending. You simply exist, and that existence shines. Presence doesn't say, look at me. It says, I'm here with you. And that, more than any practiced line or perfect expression, is what makes people fall into ease around you. Your presence teaches them to slow down, to breathe, to remember their own depth. You become a mirror that reflects them back to their best selves. That's what charismatic presence really is. It's not about drawing attention to you. It's about drawing attention through you, into the shared field of now. It's the art of disappearing into connection. The paradox is beautiful. The more present you become, the less self-conscious you are, and yet the more luminous your energy feels to others. Because presence removes resistance. It clears the static, and through that clear space, your trueessence.com/kind, radiant, finally shines. So, how do you live this daily? Start by noticing the small moments when you leave the present. When your mind races ahead, when anxiety rises, when you replay something from hours ago, pause. Take a breath. Feel your hands. Feel your heartbeat. That's presence. And each time you do it, you're reclaiming your power. You're teaching your energy to stop scattering. You're gathering yourself, piece by piece, back into wholeness. And soon, your life starts to slow down, not in movement, but in feeling. Time stretches. Interactions deepen. You begin to see that presence isn't just a practice. It's a way of being. The more present you are, the more people trust you. They may not know why. They just feel something stable in you. Something grounded, something rare. And that feeling is unforgettable. Because in a world that's always elsewhere, The person who's fully here becomes sacred. That's your gift. That's your aura. That's your charisma. So as you move forward from this chapter, take one truth with you. You don't need to try harder to be impressive. You only need to be here. Everything magnetic begins from this moment. Every dream, every connection, every breakthrough. All of it happens in the now, and the deeper you live in it, the more luminous your energy becomes. Because presence isn't just power, it's peace. It's beauty. It's the light that makes every other quality of charisma possible, and it's already yours, waiting quietly behind the next breath. Chapter 8. The Silent Influence. How energy speaks before words have. You ever entered a room and felt something before a single word was spoken? That quiet tension that lingers in the air. Or the warmth that instantly softens you as though the space itself is whispering the story of the people inside it. That's energy speaking. And whether you realize it or not, your energy is always speaking too. Long before you open your mouth, your presence has already introduced you. Your mood, your thoughts, your internal dialogue, all of it travels ahead of your words, painting the atmosphere around you. People don't just listen to what you say, they listen to how they feel when you're near. That's the silent influence. It's the most subtle, powerful layer of charisma, the one that can be taught in public speaking classes or captured in photographs. Because it doesn't come from your outer expression, it comes from your inner frequency. Everything in existence vibrates, sound, color, even thought, and your emotions are vibrations too. They ripple outward, influencing the nervous systems of those around you. The science of it is simple, yet profound. The human body is an electromagnetic field. It radiates information, it senses the invisible. That's why when someone angry walks into a room, everyone feels it, and when someone peaceful enters, the whole space exhales. Your energy is your true language. Charisma, then, isn't just how you use your words. It's how you use your state. You don't attract people because you have all the right phrases. You attract them because your energy tells their nervous system, it's safe here. You've felt that before, with someone whose presence feels grounding, who doesn't rush, who listens without distraction. Their energy feels like a quiet lake, steady and clear. Standing near them, your own chaos seems to settle. You begin to breathe deeper without realizing why. That's silent influence in motion. It's not manipulation, it's resonance. When your energy is calm, people's energy begins to align with it. Their mirror neurons, those tiny cells in the brain that mimic emotional states, start to sync with yours. It's not magic. It's human biology. This is why truly charismatic people don't try to make others feel good. They feel good themselves, and that energy spills outward naturally. Their presence becomes a tuning fork for harmony. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to brighten every space they enter, it's because they carry coherence. Their thoughts, emotions, and actions are in agreement. That alignment creates a vibration that feels whole, unbroken. When you stand near someone coherent, your own energy senses the stability and begins to match it. It's not conscious, it's energetic empathy. The opposite is also true. When you're in a world is chaotic, when your thoughts and emotions contradict each other, your energy becomes fragmented. Others can't quite relax around it. Even if your words sound kind, something feels off, even if no one can explain it. That's because the body always tells the truth that words can't hide. You can't speak calm if your energy screams tension. You can't preach confidence if your body radiates fear. You can't fake love if your vibration hums with self-doubt. Your energy always reveals what your ego tries to conceal. That's not a flaw. It's an invitation, because it means the path to deeper charisma isn't about pretending to be something you are not. It's about harmonizing who you already are. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions are aligned, your presence becomes medicine. People don't just hear you, they feel healed by you, and that's what silent influence truly is. Healing energy disguised as human connection. Think of the last time someone listened to you deeply, without rushing to reply. Remember how it felt, as though their attention held you, as though you could exhale for the first time in hours. That's the power of an aligned aura. You see, the world is full of words but starving for presence. We hear noise all day long, advertising, conversations, arguments, endless talking, but so little energetic honesty. The moment someone walks in carrying stillness instead of noise, the difference is almost electric. That's why when you cultivate your energy, you change your impact. Not by trying harder, but by becoming clearer. Your silent influence begins with your emotional hygiene. How you manage what you feel. Every emotion you hold affects the frequency you broadcast. Anger tightens your field. Gratitude expands it. Fear fragments it. Love strengthens it. So the work isn't to suppress your emotions, but to cleanse them, to allow them, feel them, and let them pass through. When you hold on to emotions too long, they become energy that stagnates, heavy and dense. But when you let them move, your energy flows again light, magnetic, free. Your aura is like water. When stirred by awareness, it clears itself. There's a reason certain people feel light when you're around them. Their energy doesn't cling, doesn't demand. It flows. You feel free in their presence because they are free within themselves. This is the heart of charisma, freedom expressed as ease. You can't give others what you haven't given yourself. If you want to make others feel seen, you must first see yourself. If you want to make others feel calm, you must first find calm within. Because your energy doesn't just influence people, it educates them. Every interaction teaches others how to feel in your presence. You can teach them anxiety, or you can teach them peace. You can teach them tension, or you can teach them trust. And the choice begins in your inner world. If your mind is constantly racing, slow it. If your body feels disconnected, breathe into it. If your spirit feels heavy, release the stories that no longer serve you. Because your energy doesn't lie, and it never stops speaking. The most magnetic people are those whose inner state says, I am here, I am whole, and I wish you well. That silent sentence, wordless but powerful, is what people remember. Not your achievements, not your eloquence, your energy. Even after you leave the room, that energy lingers. People replay how they felt near you. Not the details of your conversation, but the essence of your presence. Have you noticed that? That you can forget what someone said, but never forget how they made you feel. That's the silent influence working long after words fade. Charisma, then, is less about performance and more about purification. It's the art of clearing what blocks your natural light from shining through. Because when your energy is pure, free of pretense, comparison, and fear, it communicates louder than any speech ever could. You can't fake that kind of presence. You can only become it. And the way to become it is simple, but not easy. It requires stillness, reflection, forgiveness, awareness. Every time you forgive, your energy lightens. Every time you release resentment, your aura expands. Every time you love, truly love, without condition, your frequency rises. These shifts are invisible to the eye, but unmistakable to the heart. People may not understand why they're drawn to you, why they trust you so quickly, why they feel calm when you enter. But their energy knows. It recognizes truth. Your presence becomes its own language. And in that language, you say everything that matters without a single word. That's why the most powerful communicators are often the quietest ones. They don't need to dominate the air. They command it through vibration. The room listens, even in silence. You can begin to cultivate this silent influence right now. Pause. Feel your breath. Notice the energy in your chest. Is it tense or open? Notice the space around your body. Does it feel tight or fluid? Adjust softly. Exhale longer. Drop your shoulders. Smile from your heart, not your lips. Feel the shift. That's your energy softening. Your presence becoming magnetic. It's not something outside you. It's something returning to you. And as you move through the world with that awareness, your influence grows naturally. You won't need to push or persuade. You'll simply be, and that will be enough. Because when your energy speaks love, Your silence becomes a symphony, and that's when charisma transcends charm. It becomes grace. So the next time you walk into a room, remember, you're not just entering a space, you're shaping it. Your energy is a message, and it's being read before you ever say a word. Let it say something beautiful. Let us say, I am here. I am peace. I am light, and the world will answer in kind, softly, silently, inevitably reflecting back the harmony you carry within. That is the true language of charisma, and it doesn't need sound to be heard. Chapter 9. Magnetism through emotional intelligence. Have you ever met someone who made you feel instantly understood? Not because they had all the answers, not because they tried to fix you, but because they saw you fully, gently, without judgment. That is emotional intelligence, and it's the heartbeat of charisma. Charisma isn't about perfection or performance. It's about presence, and presence, at its core, is emotional awareness. When you understand your own emotions and can hold space for others without losing your balance, you become magnetic. Because the world is starving for people who can feel without falling apart. Most of us were never taught how to hold emotion. We were told to suppress it, hide it, intellectualize it, or use it as proof of weakness. But the truth is, emotions are energy in motion, signals, messages, currents flowing through the body, asking for understanding, not control. The emotionally intelligent person doesn't resist emotion. They read it. They listen to the quiet language beneath it. They don't ask, how do I get rid of this feeling? They ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? That single shift changes everything. Because emotion, when understood, becomes wisdom, and wisdom radiates calm. When you meet someone who's emotionally grounded, you can feel it, the steadiness in their gaze, the ease in their gestures, the softness in their tone. It's as though they're anchored in a deeper current that can be shaken by surface waves. That energy is magnetic because it offers safety. Truth is people are not drawn to those who seem perfect. They're redrawn to those who make them feel safe to be human. Emotional intelligence is that safety. It's the ability to understand your feelings without being ruled by them. To empathize with others without losing yourself in their storm. To stay open even when the world feels closed. That kind of awareness doesn't come from books or scripts. It comes from honest living, from heartbreak, disappointment, self-reflection. It comes from learning to meet yourself again and again in the rawness of your own humanity. Because every time you meet your own pain with compassion, you expand your capacity to hold others. That expansion is visible, not through words, but through energy. You start to listen differently. You stop interrupting. You don't rush to fill silence. You give people space to breathe, to be. And in that space, connection blooms. That's magnetism. Not a trick, not a tactic. Whose presence? Pure, patient, powerful. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness. When you can name what you're feeling, you stop projecting it unconsciously. You stop turning your inner storms into outer conflicts. You learn to respond instead of react. A reactive person lives on emotional autopilot. Easily triggered, constantly defensive, always at the mercy of others' moods. But a responsive person, an emotionally intelligent one, lives with intention. They feel deeply, but they also choose consciously. They understand that emotion is a visitor, not a dictator. Imagine emotion like weather. Some days are bright and calm. Others, heavy and stormy. You can't stop the rain, but you can learn to dance in it. To hold your umbrella of awareness. To keep walking, even when the sky grows dark. That's what emotional intelligence teaches. Not how to control the weather, but how to walk through it with grace. And when you walk that way, others follow your rhythm. You become a model of emotional steadiness. Someone whose calm heart regulates the hearts around them. Science calls this emotional contagion. Spirit calls it resonance. Either way, it's real. People don't remember every word you say, but they remember how your energy made their emotions feel lighter or heavier, safe or uncertain, loved or unseen. That's why emotional intelligence is the foundation of every form of charisma. It teaches you to read emotion, not just yours, but others. When you speak to someone and sense their hesitation, emotional intelligence helps you pause and adjust your tone. When you sense enthusiasm, it helps you lean in, match their spark, create harmony. You start to hear what's not being said. You begin to sense the invisible. It's not manipulation. It's empathy in action. It is understanding that every person you meet is carrying an inner world as complex as yours fears. Dreams, regrets, hopes, all wrapped in the armor of daily behavior. And when you honor that complexity, people open to you. They feel safe enough to be real. That's when charisma stops being performance and starts being connection. Because emotional intelligence turns attention into empathy. It transforms listening into understanding. It makes you magnetic, not through dominance, but through depth. Think of the most captivating people you've ever met. Maybe they weren't loud. Maybe they didn't demand space. But when they looked at you, you felt shone. Their energy told you, you matter here. That's not charisma learned in a mirror. That's charisma, born from emotional maturity. When you master emotional intelligence, you become fluent in the emotional languages of others. The small shifts in their expression, the subtle tension in their voice, the pauses between words. You sense the story beneath the story. And because you see more, you hibi more. You respond more gently. You love more wisely. That kind of awareness doesn't just make people like you. It makes them trust you. Trust is the currency of all influence. And emotional intelligence is how you earn it. When your emotions are balanced, your energy becomes predictable. People know what to expect from you. Not mood swings or hidden agendas, but consistency. They can relax around you. And when people relax, they open. That's why emotional intelligence is also the secret to leadership. The most magnetic leaders are not those who command fear. They are those who command hearts through understanding, patience, authenticity. They regulate not only their own energy, but the energy of the spaces they enter. They know when to lift, when to listen, when to pose. They use emotion as guidance, not as chaos. And here's something beautiful. The more emotionally intelligent you become, the more peace you experience. Because understanding emotion means you no longer fear it. And what you don't fear, you no longer fight. You begin to trust your inner tides. You learn that sadness softens you, joy expands you, anger protects you, fear awakens you. Each emotion has purpose. Each is part of your alchemy. When you meet them with awareness, they stop controlling you. When you meet them with love, they start serving you. And in that harmony, your aura changes. You become someone who feels deeply, but carries lightly. Someone who can walk into any space and bring emotional balance simply by being. Someone who listens so deeply that silence becomes a language of comfort. That's magnetism. That's charisma at its most soulful level. Because emotional intelligence doesn't just make you likable. It makes you luminous. It allows you to navigate the world with a soft strength, to be powerful without hardness, kind without weakness. It lets you lead with your heart, without losing your head. And the world feels that people gravitate toward you not because you're flawless, but because you're real. Not because you never fall, but because you rise gracefully. Not because you never feel pain, but because you don't run from Italiano. Your emotional intelligence becomes your energy signature. The silent proof that you've made peace with your own humanity. And in a world addicted to noise, that peace is irresistible. So the next time you wonder how to be more charismatic, start not with how you appear, but with how you feel. Ask yourself, am I emotionally honest with myself today? Am I aware of what I'm carrying? Am I listening to my feelings or escaping them? The more truthfully you answer, the clearer your energy becomes. And the clearer your energy, the more magnetic your presence. Because people don't fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with presence. They don't follow those who never feel. They follow those who feel deeply and stay centered anyway. That is the quiet art of magnetism. That is the language of the emotionally intelligent. And as you master it, you won't have to chase connection anymore. It will find you naturally, effortlessly. silently, because the heart always recognizes what the mind cannot explain, and emotional intelligence is the bridge that lets it. Chapter 10. Charisma and Authenticity. The courage to be real. When was the last time you felt completely, unapologetically yourself? No filters. No performance. No trying to be who you thought others wanted you to be. Just you. Unedited, unmasked, real. It's a simple question, but for many of us, it's a difficult one. Because somewhere along the way, we learned that being real was risky. We learned to trade authenticity for acceptance, to hide our flaws for approval, to dim our truth for belonging. And yet, every time we hide who we are, our light dims a little more. Charisma doesn't come from perfection. It comes from authenticity. From the courage to be seen as you are, not as you think you should be. Because people aren't drawn to masks. They're drawn to honesty. They're drawn to energy that feels unfiltered, alive, human. The world is full of performers, but it aches for truth, and that's what makes authenticity magnetic. It's rare. We live in an age of images. We curate our smiles, rehearse our words, and measure our worth in approval. But charisma, real charisma, doesn't come from crafting an image. It comes from embodying your essence. When you stand in your truth, you vibrate differently. Your energy becomes unmistakable, not because it's polished, but because it's pure. You stop seeking validation because you become validation. The living proof that being yourself is enough. And that's what draws people in. They see in you what they've been too afraid to embrace in themselves. Your freedom reminds them of their own. Authenticity is contagious. When you live honestly, you give others permission to do the same. Think about the people who moved you the most. Maybe it was a friend who cried openly, a mentor who admitted they didn't have all the answers, a leader who spoke with vulnerability instead of pride. What touched you wasn't their perfection. It was their realness. Their truth reached yours. That's charisma at its most sacred level. Not performance, but resonance. But to live authentically, you must first face the fears that taught you to hide. The fear of rejection, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of not being enough. These fears are old. They begin in childhood, when love sometimes felt conditional, when approval felt safer than honesty. We learn to wear masks to survive. But as adults, those same masks become prisons. They protect us from judgment, yes, but they also protect us from connection. Because you cannot be fully loved if you're not fully seen. And the moment you realize that, truly realize it, is the moment you begin to live free. Authenticity begins when the need to belong no longer outweighs the need to be real. When you decide that the cost of pretending is too high. When you choose truth over approval, even if your voice trembles while you speak it. That's courage. And courage is charisma's twin flame. Because courage makes energy expand. It radiates from the heart. It's what makes people trust you, not because you're perfect, but because you're honest about your imperfection. Honesty has an energy. It's raw, grounding, magnetic. When you speak truthfully, not cruelly, not dramatically, but sincerely, your energy sharpens. People feel Italiano, their intuition relaxes, their hearts lean in. Authenticity builds instant resonance because it bypasses the intellect and speaks straight to the soul. That's why authenticity doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to convince. It doesn't even need to be liked. It just needs to be true. And truth, when spoken from the heart, carries its own gravity. You've felt it before. That moment when someone speaks with such sincerity that you can feel their words vibrate in your chest. That's not performance. That's soul speaking through sound. It's the same energy that draws people to artists, leaders, healers, anyone who dares to show the world their inner landscape, unfiltered. Because in their vulnerability, we find our reflection. The world doesn't crave perfect people. It craves real ones. But authenticity takes practice. It requires peeling back layers of conditioning, of false confidence, of emotional armor. It means learning to hear your own voice beneath the noise of expectation. And it means being willing to stand alone in your truth if you must. Because authenticity isn't about pleasing others. It's about honoring yourself. When you choose authenticity, you risk losing shallow approval, but you gain something far more powerful. Peace. The kind of peace that comes from no longer performing, no longer editing yourself, no longer carrying the exhausting weight of pretense. It's like exhaling after holding your breath for years. That peace becomes palpable. People sense it before you speak. You move differently. You look them in the eye without flinching. You smile from somewhere real. Your laughter sounds unforced. Your silence feels comfortable. That's charisma. Not because you're redoing more, but because you're finally being. Authenticity turns your presence into truth-telling energy. It tells the world, I'm not perfect, but I'm honest. I'm not flawless, but I'm real. And that truth, spoken through energy, is irresistible. Because deep down, we all crave connection that feels real. Well, that isn't a performative leadership, that isn't a manipulative. Friendship that isn't conditional. Authenticity offers that. It doesn't mean you bear everything or share recklessly. It means that what you do share is genuine, that your actions align with your words, that your yes means yes, and your no means no. Authenticity is integrity embodied, and integrity, when lived consistently, builds the kind of aura that cannot be faked. People will trust you without knowing why. They'll respect you without needing proof. Because authenticity, like light, doesn't argue with darkness. It simply reveals it. But being authentic doesn't mean you never change. In fact, it means you're willing to, because when you're true to yourself, you give yourself permission to evolve. You stop clinging to old versions of you that were built for survival. You start becoming who you were always meant to be, not by adding more, but by shedding what's false. Each layer you release brings you closer to your core. That quiet, powerful place inside you that has never been broken, never been false, never been afraid to shine. That's the authentic self. And when it's revealed, charisma becomes effortless. Because authenticity doesn't seek attention. It attracts alignment. It doesn't demand admiration. It earns respect. It doesn't chase connection. It creates belonging. You stop trying to impress. You start trying to express. And in that shift, everything changes. You find the people who once intimidated you now feel human. You realize that approval no longer defines your worth. You discover that your truth, even when it shakes, still carries power. Because it's real. Authenticity is the quiet revolution of the soul. The moment you decide to stop performing for the world and start aligning with it instead. It's an act of rebellion in a culture obsessed with appearances. It's a declaration of freedom that says, I choose truth over imitation. I choose depth over image. I choose me. And when you make that choice, your entire energy shifts. You stop radiating the anxious static of needing to be liked. You start radiating the calm pulse of that shift is felt before it's seen. It's what makes people pause around you, not because you're loud, but because you're real. And in a world of echoes, the real voice always stands out. So if you want to be magnetic, start with honesty. Start with presence. Start with the courage to be seen without disguise. Because authenticity doesn't just attract people, it heals them. It reminds them that truth is still beautiful. That imperfection is still worthy. That being human is still enough. And when your presence carries that reminder, your charisma becomes more than charm. It becomes light. So be brave enough to be real. Let your flaws breathe. Let your truth live. Because the most charismatic thing you can ever be is yourself. Yourself. Not the edited version. Not the polished one. Just you, whole, present, alive. And the world will feel it. Because the soul always recognizes its own reflection in another. And when it does, it cannot look away. Chapter 11. The Language of the Body. Presence beyond words. Before you speak, your body has already begun the conversation. Every breath, every tilt of your head, every flicker of your gaze is communicating something. Your confidence, your openness, your truth. The body, unlike the mind, cannot lie for long. It carries your emotions like music carries melody. Even silence, even stillness, is expressive. When your words and your body disagree, people believe the body, because the body speaks in a language older than speech. The language of instinct, energy, and emotion. That's why charisma isn't just heard. It is felt. It is felt. You can walk into a room without saying a word and still change its temperature. You can command attention with the lift of an eyebrow, or soften a heart with a single, sincere smile. That's the language of the body. Subtle, ancient, magnetic. Every movement you make is an echo of your inner world. If your energy is fragmented, your gestures will be rushed. If your heart is calm, your movements will flow like water. Your posture tells the story of your self-belief. Your eyes reveal how present you are. Your breath writes the rhythm of your confidence. And when all of these align, body, mind, and emotion, your presence becomes unforgettable. Because alignment is beauty, and beauty, in its truest form, is coherence. Watch someone who moves with presence. Notice how they never seem to rush. Their gestures are unhurried, intentional. Their stillness feels full, not empty. They listen with their entire being, shoulders relaxed, eyes steady, breath slow. They don't fidget. They don't grasp. They receive. That's not something you can fake. It's not choreography. It's consciousness. Their body has learned to mirror their inner state, grounded, whole, at ease. That's what makes presence magnetic, because your body is an instrument of vibration. When tuned, it becomes music, a silent symphony of confidence, compassion, and calm. But when it's tense or defensive, the music becomes noise. We often forget that tension speaks to crossed arms whisper, "I don't trust this." Averted eyes murmur, "I don't want to be seen." Rigid shoulders confess, "I'm holding more than I can carry." The body always tells the truth, whether you want it to or not. So, to embody charisma, you must first listen to your body's language. Ask it what it has been trying to say. Where does it hold fear? Where does it hide pain? Where does it need release? Your body remembers what your mind tries to forget. It stores every unspoken emotion, every swallowed word, every moment you silenced yourself for safety. Charisma begins when you start freeing that energy, when you let your body exhale the stories it has been holding for years. When you stretch, breathe, dance, or simply sit in awareness, you invite your body to speak again. And when your body speaks freely, your aura expands. People often think charisma is about physical beauty, but it's not. It's about energetic beauty. The way aliveness moves through you. It can be magnetic at any age, any shape, any size. What matters is the openness of your energy, because openness feels beautiful. There's something captivating about someone who's at home in their own skin. They don't move to impress, they move to express. Every gesture is natural, their authenticity vibrates through their body, and it's impossible to look away. That's why dancers, speakers, or even quiet observers can all radiate charisma. It is not about what they do. It is about the energy that does through them. Presence lives in posture. When you walk, walk like you belong. When you stand, stand like you are rooted to the earth. When you speak, let your breath lead your words. You don't need to exaggerate, just inhabit. Charismatic people inhabit their bodies fully. They don't shrink. They don't hide. They allow their energy to fill the space they're in, not by dominance, but by wholeness. Their movements communicate without force. I am here, and I am enough. Your body wants to speak that way too. It wants to stretch open instead of contract. It wants to breathe deeply instead of holding back. It wants to move with grace instead of fear. But fear tightens the body. It makes you smaller, quieter, hidden. That's why healing your relationship with your body is essential to building charisma. You can't feel magnetic in a vessel you don't trust. So start simple. Begin by listening to your breath. Notice how it changes when you're anxious or inspired. Notice how your posture shifts when you feel confident or doubtful. Awareness is the first language of the body. Then, gently, begin to realign. When you enter a room, drop your shoulders. Open your chest, not in arrogance, but in openness. Meet eyes softly, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. Let your gestures follow your words like waves follow the tide. Don't force them. Let them rise naturally, from emotion, not calculation. Because real charisma is never rehearsed. It's embodied truth. You can sense it in the way someone nods thoughtfully, or how their smile reaches their eyes, in the pause between their sentences, where silence feels alive instead of awkward. That's the difference between performance and presence. Performance fills space. Presence is space, and people can feel it instantly. When your body is in harmony, people sense your calm. They tras Italiano. They're drawn to it, even if they don't understand why. Because their bodies, too, are seeking coherence. We are all tuning forks of energy, resonating with what feels true. That's why body language can't be faked long-term, because eventually, energy reveals intention. So instead of learning power poses, learn power presence. The stillness that says, I'm groomed. The openness that says, you are welcome. The movement that says, I trust this moment. When your body begins to move from that place, your charisma becomes effortless. You no longer think about what to do, your energy does it for you. Your body, aligned with your mind and heart, becomes a bridge, transmitting sincerity, empathy, strength, and that bridge builds connection faster than any word ever could. You've felt it before, a hug that spoke 1,000 words, a glance that said, I understand, a hand on your shoulder that calmed your racing thoughts. That's the body speaking in its truest language: touch, presence, stillness. And sometimes, that's all the communication that's needed, because charisma isn't to you only about what you project outward, it is about what you allow inward. Can you receive someone's gaze without flinching? Can you stand in silence without rushing to fill it? Can you hold space for another's emotion without tightening your own body in defense? That's embodiment. That's presence. And that's what makes your aura powerful. Not the outer shape, but the inner spaciousness. Your body is not a costume you wear. It's your instrument. It's how your soul plays music in the world. So tend to it. Feed it movement. Give it rest. Let it breathe. The more you care for your body, the more fluent it becomes in charisma's language. The language of calm confidence, of soft power, of silent influence. When you move with awareness, your gestures carry intention. When you stand tall, your energy announces itself before your voice does. When you sit with poise, your stillness tells the room that you are not here to compete, you are here to connect. And that, my friend, is irresistible. Because the body never lies, and when it speaks truth, everyone listens. So as you go about your day, notice how your body communicates. Let it be honest. Let it be free. Let it express without judgment. Because when your body becomes your ally, not your mask, your presence becomes art. Every step becomes expression. Every glance becomes gravity. Every breath becomes magnetism. That is the language of charisma, not performed, not forced, but felt. The world doesn't need more perfect bodies. It needs more embodied souls. And when you become one, when your body, heart, and energy move as one rhythm, the world doesn't just see you, it feels you, and it remembers. Chapter 12. The Aura of Purpose. Living with direction and meaning. What gives a person that undeniable glow, that quiet certainty that makes them seem larger than life, yet deeply grounded in it? It isn't just confidence. It isn't charm. It isn't even skill. It's purpose. There is something magnetic about someone who knows why they are here, who moves through the world with direction, not haste, with clarity, not noise. Purpose gives energy shape. It gives charisma roots. Without purpose, even the brightest aura flickers. With purpose, even the faintest light can guide others home. You can see it in their eyes. People who live with purpose don't just look at life. They look into it. Their gaze is alive, focused, lit from within by something that can't be manufactured or mimicked. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it hums quietly beneath your words, like a steady drumbeat beneath the melody of your life. But when it's there, people feel it. That sense that you are going somewhere, that you stand for something, that your life means more. That's the kind of energy that changes rooms, hearts, and histories. Because purpose is the soul's direction, the compass that points your charisma toward contribution. Without it, charisma can become performance. With it, charisma becomes service. Purpose is what makes presence meaningful, and it doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to be a visionary or a world leader. Purpose can be as intimate as the desire to heal, to teach, to create, to love deeply. It can live quietly in the way you raise your children, the way you tend to your work, the way you treat strangers. Purpose isn't about scale, it's about sincerity. It's less about aligning your actions with your inner truth, the part of you that knows what feels right, what feels alive, what feels sacred. When you live from that place, your energy expands effortlessly. People trust those who walk with direction. They may not know where you're going, but they sense you're not lost. That sense of orientation, of inner compass, is profoundly attractive. Because deep down, everyone is searching for meaning, and when they see it embodied in someone else, they're drawn to it instinctively. That's why purpose amplifies charisma. It transforms energy from self-serving to self. A person living on purpose isn't trying to impress. They're trying to express something larger than themselves. Their life becomes a message, not a performance. And that message, when lived with sincerity, radiates. Think of those rare individuals who seem to move through life as if guided by an invisible thread. They aren't necessarily the loudest or the most talented, but they have an aura of peace, a kind of unshakable calm that comes from knowing who they are and why they are here. That calm is magnetic, because in their certainty, others find safety. Purpose doesn't erase fear, but it puts fear in perspective. It gives you something bigger to serve than your own comfort. That's why people of purpose don't crumble easily. Their energy bends, but it doesn't break. They understand that obstacles are not punishments. They're invitations to grow into deeper alignment. That understanding gives their presence a different texture. Resilient, grounded, trustworthy. Charisma built on appearance is fragile. Charisma built on purpose is unshakable, because purpose anchors your energy and meaning. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every silence you hold, becomes infused with intention. And intention is the architecture of aura. When you live intentionally, you no longer waste energy on pretense or distraction. Your charisma becomes concentrated, not scattered, but sharp. You radiate focus, clarity, direction, and that focus draws people in, not because you demand their attention, but because your energy gives them something to believe in. Purpose transforms charisma into leadership. Not the kind of leadership that needs titles or applause. The kind that moves hearts by example. The kind that leads quietly by alignment. Because the most powerful way to influence others is to live your truth so deeply that it invites them to find theirs. And when your energy carries that kind of authenticity, people don't just follow you, they remember you. Your presence becomes a lighthouse. A reminder that meaning is possible, that direction can be found, that life is worth moving through with intention. But how do you find purpose? It begins not with ambition, but with attention. You find purpose not by chasing success, but by listening to your curiosity, your pain, your joy. The heart whispers what the mind forgets. It nudges you toward what feels alive. Purpose hides in the things that make you forget time. The moments that fill you rather than drain you. The work that feels less like effort and more like expression. It lives in what breaks your heart and in what heals it. Because purpose often grows from pain, from the lessons that carved depth into your soul, from the wounds that made you compassionate, from the questions that refused to leave you alone. Those are not accidents. They are invitations. Your struggles shape your service. Your healing becomes your message. Your journey becomes your contribution. That's why charisma without purpose feels hollow. like a song without meaning. But when charisma and purpose meet, your energy becomes art. You stop performing, and you start embodying. You stop chasing applause, and you start creating impact. Because purpose gives direction not only to your actions, but to your aura. It tells your energy where to flow. It turns your presence into guidance. When you're aligned with your purpose, people don't just see your confidence. They feel your clarity. They sense that you're not here by accident. And that sensation, that certainty of direction, is irresistible. But purpose is not a destination. It's a relationship. It evolves as you evolve. It deepens with every season of your life. You may begin with one calling and grow into another. You may lose your sense of direction for a while, only to rediscover it through stillness. That's all part of the dance. Purpose isn't something you find once. It's something you live into again and again. As you become more honest with yourself, the more aligned you are, the more radiant your energy becomes. Because alignment creates coherence, and coherence is the quiet magnetism that people feel before they even understand why. Purpose makes your presence consistent. Even when you're tired, your energy feels steady. Even when you're uncertain, your direction feels sincere. Because you're not performing. You're simply being who you were designed to be. And that's what charisma is at its highest form, energy that serves truth. When your charisma is rooted in purpose, it stops being about attraction and becomes about elevation. You don't draw people to you. You lift them with you. Your presence reminds them that they, too, have something to give. That they, too, can live with meaning. That's the ripple effect of purpose. It awakens purpose in others. So if you want to build a radiant aura, don't start with how you look or sound. Start with why you move, why you speak, why you wake up each day. Because once your why is alive, your energy becomes unstoppable. Every gesture, every glance, every word begins to hum with that subtle electricity of meaning. And people feel it. They feel your conviction, your sincerity, your peace. They trust your energy, even before they understand your message. That is the power of purpose. It communicates beyond words. So listen closely to your life. It's been trying to tell you what you're here for. The moments that light you up, follow them. The moments that break you open, honor them. Because somewhere in that intersection of joy and pain, your purpose is waiting. And when you live it, your charisma will no longer be something you try to build. It will be something that builds through you. You will move through the world with quiet direction. You will speak with conviction that softens, not hardens. You will walk with light that steadies, not blinds. And your aura.com, clear, purposeful, will not just attract attention, it will awaken meaning. Because purpose doesn't make you louder, it makes you clearer. And clarity is what the world is truly drawn to. Chapter 13. Emotional intelligence. The hidden magnet of the charismatic soul. Have you ever met someone who made you feel understood? Not just listened to, but seen. Someone whose presence seemed to calm your worries, whose words soothed your tension, whose eyes carried kindness even before they spoke. That's emotional intelligence at work. It's the invisible thread that connects souls, the quiet magnetism that draws hearts closer without effort, without demand, without pretense. Charisma without emotional intelligence is like light without warmth. It shines, but it doesn't comfort. It dazzles, but it doesn't heal. Because true charisma doesn't just impress people, it moves them. It touches the heart in ways words alone cannot. And that power doesn't come from technique. It comes from empathy, from understanding the emotional landscape of others as clearly as you understand your own. Emotional intelligence begins with awareness, not of others, but of yourself. It starts when you can pause long enough to notice what you're feeling, instead of reacting to it. When you can name your emotion without shame, hold it without judgment, and express it without harm. That self-awareness is the root of emotional wisdom, because when you understand yourself, you stop projecting your chaos onto others. You stop needing control. You start choosing connection. That choice changes everything. It's what turns ordinary communication into understanding, and ordinary presence into peace. People can feel it immediately. When someone emotionally grounded walks into a room, the air shifts. It becomes steadier, safer, kinder, because emotional intelligence radiates calm. It's the aura of someone who is not ruled by their emotions, but guided by them. Someone who feels deeply, but doesn't drown. Who listens before they speak. Who pauses before they react. That kind of self-mastery is magnetic, not because it demands attention, but because it commands respect. In a world that's quick to shout, calm is charismatic. Emotional intelligence gives you that calm, the ability to meet emotion with understanding instead of defensiveness, to hold space for others' feelings without absorbing them as your own. It's not about being stoic or detached. It's about being present enough to sense what's happening beneath the surface. When someone speaks, emotionally intelligent people hear more than words. They hear tone, rhythm, silence. They listen for the emotion behind the expression. They notice when someone's smile doesn't reach their eyes. They sense when a conversation shifts from openness to defense. They feel the tremor in the voice that says, "I'm fine," but means, "I'm not." That kind of awareness is rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. When people feel truly seen, they soften. Their guard drops. Their hearts open. And in that opening, connection happens effortlessly, honestly. That's the heart of charisma, because people don't remember what you said. They remember how you made them feel. Emotional intelligence ensures that feeling is trust, not tension. Warmth, not worry. It makes your presence a refuge, a space where others can be real without fear of judgment. And when people can be real around you, they'll seek you again and again. Not because you're perfect, but because you're safe. Safety is the foundation of magnetism. When others feel safe in your presence, they stop pretending. They start relaxing. They start revealing. That's when true influence begins. Not through persuasion, but through resonance. Because charisma isn't about pushing energy outward. It's about creating a field that draws others inward. And that field is built from emotional intelligence. It starts with empathy. The ability to feel with someone, not just for them. Empathy is not pity. It's connection. It says, "I've been where you are," or "I can imagine what this feels like." It bridges the distance between souls. Empathy doesn't require agreement. It requires understanding. And that understanding is what transforms conflict into compassion, tension into trust. When you communicate with empathy, even disagreement becomes graceful. You no longer need to win arguments. You seek to win hearts. You listen not to reply, but to relate. And that shift from reaction to reflection changes the entire dynamic of connection. People begin to open up. Not because you say the right thing, but because your energy says, "I care." You can't fake that. Energy doesn't lie. Emotional intelligence refines that energy, makes it clear, soft, and strong. It gives you presence, depth, because people can sense that you're not hiding behind charm, that you're not afraid of emotion, that you're comfortable in the language of the heart. That comfort is magnetic. It draws others who long for authenticity, who crave conversation that feels alive, not rehearsed. When you speak from emotional intelligence, you don't need to perform empathy. You embody it. Your tone slows. Your eyes stay steady. Your words flow from awareness, not impulse. You respond from understanding, not ego. And that balance, that grace between strength and softness is what makes you unforgettable. Because people trust those who understand them. Emotional intelligence makes you trustworthy, not by perfection, but by consistency. It teaches you to regulate your emotions, to feel anger without cruelty, to feel sadness without despair, to feel fear without paralysis. You become emotionally fluent, able to move through feeling without being trapped by it. And that fluency gives you presence. It allows you to stand in any storm without losing your stillness. That stillness is charisma. Because when others are overwhelmed, you remain composed. When others react, you respond. When others close off, you stay open. People remember that kind of steadiness. It feels like gravity, something solid to hold on to. But emotional intelligence is not only about managing emotions, it's about using them as information. Every emotion carries a message. Anger signals boundaries. Sadness invites release. Joy shows alignment. Fear points to growth. When you learn to read these messages, instead of resisting them, your emotions become allies. You stop fearing them. You start listening. And when you listen to your emotions, you begin to understand the emotions of others more naturally. That understanding turns into compassion. And compassion, when expressed with sincerity, turns into charisma. Because people are drawn to those who make them feel safe to be human. Charisma, built on emotional intelligence, is not about commanding attention. It's about commanding connection. You don't manipulate. You harmonize. You don't dominate. You elevate. You begin to move through the world with emotional grace. The ability to meet intensity with softness, confusion with clarity, pain with patience, and that grace becomes your aura. It surrounds you like light, not blinding, but illuminating. People will say they just feel good around you, but they won't always know why. It's because your energy speaks a language their hearts. Remember, empathy, calm, authenticity. Emotional intelligence is the invisible magnet that holds charisma together. It softens the edges of ambition. It turns confidence into comfort. It makes power gentle. And in a world starving for gentleness, that is irresistible. So begin with awareness. Feel your emotions without rushing to fix them. Name them. Honor them. Learn from them. Then extend that same understanding outward. When you listen with your whole self. Your eyes, your breath, your stillness. When you speak, let your words be bridges, not barriers. When you feel, let your empathy be your guide. Because emotional intelligence is not something you practice once. It's something you live, moment by moment, conversation by conversation. And the more you live it, the more magnetic you become. Your presence turns into peace. Your energy turns into understanding. Your charisma turns into comfort. And the world, tired, rushed, aching for kindness, will gravitate toward you like light, returning to warmth. That is the hidden magnet of the charismatic soul. Not charm, not perfection, not power, but feeling, depth, understanding. The kind of energy that doesn't just enter a room, it heals it. Because when your heart leads your charisma, your presence becomes a prayer. And everyone who crosses your path feels it, even if they can't explain why. Chapter 14. Energy and Presence. Becoming the light. Others feel. Close your eyes for a moment. Now, remember someone whose very presence made you feel calm. Someone who didn't even need to speak to change the atmosphere around them. Maybe it was the way they breathed, slow and steady. Maybe it was the stillness in their eyes. Maybe it was the quiet confidence that told you, everything is okay. That's energy. That's presence. We all carry an invisible field around us, a vibration made up of our thoughts, emotions, and attention. People can't see it, but they can feel it. It's in the pauses between your words, the way you listen, the way you walk into a room. Some people carry chaos, rushed, anxious, heavy. Others carry stillness, grounded, warm, expansive. And then there are those rare ones, the ones who seem to glow from the inside out. Their energy feels like sunlight, not loud, not forceful, just effortlessly radiant. That's what it means to be charismatic on an energetic level. It's when your presence becomes light, steady, gentle, and unforgettable. But here is the truth. That light doesn't come from pretending to be positive all the time. It comes from being clear. Your energy becomes magnetic when it's unblocked. When you stop resisting yourself. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align. That's when presence is born. Presence is the art of being fully here, not lost in the past, not racing toward the future, but resting in the vividness of now. Most people rarely touch this state. They move through life half-absent, distracted, divided, elsewhere. But charisma requires presence, because people can only feel you if you are here. Presence isn't something you do. It's something you allow. It begins with breath. Every breath is an invitation to return, to anchor your awareness in the body, to remind your mind that this moment is enough. When you breathe consciously, your energy settles. Your thoughts slow down. Your emotions find rhythm again. And suddenly, you're not just in the room. You are the room. That shift is subtle but profound. Your awareness expands. You start noticing the tiny details, the texture of light on the wall, the cadence of another's voice, the pulse beneath your own skin. That's presence, not analysis, but aliveness. And when you live from that state, your energy speaks louder than your words. People may not know why, but they'll feel at ease around you. They'll breathe deeper. They'll soften. Because presence is contagious. When you are truly here, others are reminded how to come home to themselves. That is what makes presence the purest form of charisma. It doesn't seek to attract. It reminds. It reminds others of what peace feels like. But to hold that kind of energy, you must learn to manage your internal state. Your aura reflects what's happening within you. If your thoughts are frantic, your energy feels jagged. If your heart is burdened, your presence feels heavy. If your emotions are unacknowledged, your light feels dim. Energy can't be faked. It mirrors truth. So, to refine your presence, begin with awareness. Notice what your energy feels like right now. Is it open or closed? Expansive or constricted? Warm or guarded? The body will always tell you. Tightness means resistance. Ease means alignment. Presence starts when you stop fighting what is and start accepting what's here. Acceptance is power. When you stop resisting, your energy softens, and that softness becomes strength. Because still water reflects light best. Presence isn't about control. It's about coherence. When your energy is coherent, your mind, body, and spirit move as one current. People can feel that unity. It feels like peace. You don't have to speak to influence. Your calm becomes the message, and calm is powerful. It doesn't demand. It doesn't chase. It simply is. That's why those with presence can quiet a room just by walking into it. Their energy fills the silence, not with pressure, but with peace. It's as if the air rearranges itself around their stillness. But to reach that level of presence, you must care for your energy as tenderly as you would a flame. Protect it from noise that dulls it. Feed it with stillness, nature, and gratitude. Cleanse it with breath, laughter, solitude. Because your energy is not static. It responds to everything you allow near it. The conversations you keep, the environments you stay in, the thoughts you repeat. All of these sculpt your aura, so choose carefully. Let go of what drains you. Nurture what expands you. Because when your energy becomes clear, you begin to radiate naturally. Radiance is an effort. It's the byproduct of alignment. When your thoughts are kind, your emotions honest, your body relaxed, your soul steady, you glow. People might call it confidence, or magnetism, or charm, but it's none of those. It's simply presence, pure, unfiltered awareness shining through a human being who's not pretending anymore. When you are present, time slows down around you. Conversations become deeper. Moments stretch wider. Even silence feels full. That's why presence feels holy, because it's rare. It's the space between thoughts, the breath before words, the stillness behind your gaze. It's where connection happens. Because connection doesn't happen in words. It happens in awareness. When two people are both fully present, something sacred occurs, an energetic recognition, a remembering of truth. That's charisma in its truest form. The meeting of energies, not egos. And presence is what allows that meeting to happen. But presence isn't only for others. It's also for you. It grounds you when life spins too fast. It centers you when emotion clouds your clarity. It teaches you how to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. In presence, you stop trying to fix everything. You start allowing things to unfold. You learn to trust that the same energy that moves the stars also moves through you. That realization changes how you move through the world. You stop trying to force life into shape. You start aligning with its rhythm, and the more you align, the brighter your energy becomes. You begin to notice synchronicities, the right people appearing, the right opportunities unfolding, the right words arriving at the right moment. That's what happens when your energy and presence become coherent. Life starts responding to your frequency, because energy attracts energy. When you vibrate peace, peace finds you. When you radiate clarity, clarity surrounds you. When you embody love, love recognizes you instantly. That's not mysticism, it's resonance. Everything in the universe vibrates, and your vibration, your energy, determines what you attract and how deeply you connect. So tend to your energy as you would tend to your breath. Don't let it scatter. Don't let it stagnate. Keep it moving with gratitude, purpose, and awareness. The more conscious you are of your energy, the more consciously you can shape it. And as your energy refines, your presence strengthens. You begin to walk slower, breathe deeper, smile more often. You begin to look at people as if you can really see them, not with the eyes, but with the heart. And people feel that. They feel shin. They feel safe. They feel lighter. Because your presence has reminded them of their own. That's the secret of presence. It's not about having all eyes on you. It's about helping others return to themselves. When your energy carries peace, people feel at home in it. That's why the most charismatic souls are on the loudest. They read the clearest. They don't shine to be seen, they shine to see. Their light doesn't blind, it warms. Their energy doesn't demand, it invites. And when they leave, they don't take attention with them. They leave awareness behind. That's the legacy of presence. It's not what you do, it's what you become. So, as you move through your days, remember this. Every moment is a chance to return to presence. When you catch yourself rushing, pause. When your thoughts spiral, breathe. When your energy scatters, return to your body. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath in your chest. Feel your awareness spreading gently through every cell. That's it. That's charisma being born, not from force, but from awareness. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more light. And your light is already here, waiting beneath the noise of thought, ready to shine the moment you stop trying to control and start allowing. Presence is not something you learn. It's something you remember. It's who you are when you finally stop leaving yourself. When you return to that state clear, calm/alive, your energy becomes unmistakable. And then, you don't just enter a room. You change Italiano. You become the quiet light people can feel, even after you've gone. Because presence doesn't fade when the body leaves. It lingers like warmth after sunlight, like peace after prayer. That's the power of your energy. That's the magic of your presence. That's the essence of charisma, not something you perform. Something you are. Chapter 15. Legacy of Light. Sustaining charisma through growth and grace. Have you ever watched a candle burn, not in a rush, but with quiet devotion? The flame doesn't struggle to exist, doesn't compete with other lights around it. It simply burns, steady, soft, constant. That's how charisma should feel when it matures. Not a flash that fades, but a light that lasts. You've walked this far through self-awareness, authenticity, energy, presence, and purpose. You've learned how charisma isn't a performance, but a vibration. Not something you wear, but something you become. But the real question now is, how do you keep it alive? How do you sustain this presence, this light, when the world tries to dim it? Because life will. There will be seasons when you forget who you are, when exhaustion dulls your shine, when self-doubt whispers that your light no longer matters. That's when legacy begins, not in fame, but in the quiet decision to stay luminous anyway. The world needs your steadiness more than your sparkle. You sustain charisma by staying true to your growth, even when no one's watching. You sustain it by letting life shape you, not harden you, but deepen you. Because real charisma evolves with time. In youth, it might look like confidence, the energy that makes you stand taller, speak louder, dream bigger. But with wisdom, it softens into grace, the kind of presence that doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Charisma in maturity isn't about impressing. It's about inspiring. It's when your light no longer needs applause to stay lit. Every experience you've lived, every moment of doubt, every heartbreak, every trump, all of it has been polishing you, refining your aura until your presence feels like truth itself. And truth, when lived long enough, becomes peace. That peace is your legacy. It's not what you'll be remembered for. It's what people will feel when they remember you. They'll remember how you made them breathe easier, how your calm steadied their storm, how your laughter felt like sunlight. That's charisma at its highest form, the light that outlives your presence. You see, sustaining charisma isn't about holding on to who you've been. It is about continuously becoming who you are meant to be. Growth keeps the light alive. When you stop learning, you dim. When you stop evolving, your energy stagnates. So keep feeding your mind, nurturing your spirit, stretching your heart beyond comfort. Every book you read, every silence you sit with, every moment you choose kindness over reaction, all of it expands your light. Grace sustains it. Grace is that gentle self-compassion that says, even when I falter, I still shine. Because you will falter. You will forget everything you've read here from time to time. You'll slip back into patterns of doubt or fear. But grace brings you home. Grace whispers, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. Charisma isn't flawless. It's alive. It breathes. It bends. It forgives. There's a quiet beauty in imperfection. In the way cracked pottery still holds water. In the way scarred hearts still give love. Your charisma becomes richer when it carries traces of your humanity. That's what makes your light believable. Not the absence of darkness, but the courage to shine through it. When you embrace both your brilliance and your brokenness, your aura deepens. It becomes textured, more real, more resonant. People don't follow perfection. They follow presence. They follow those who remind them that it's possible to live truthfully, even when it hurts. That's what you become when you sustain your charisma through grace, a living permission for others to be human. And that, truly, is the most profound form of influence. It's not about how many people you reach. It's about how deeply you reach them. Your legacy won't be the words you said or the accolades you earned. It will be the energy you left behind. Did you leave people feeling seen? Did your presence restore hope? Did your silence speak kindness? That's how light lingers, not through noise, but through resonance. You sustain your charisma by living in alignment with your inner truth. Again and again, through every change, every challenge, every chapter. Because alignment isn't a one-time act, it's a lifelong rhythm. And every time you return to yourself through breath, through reflection, through gratitude, you recharge the energy that the world feels as your aura. Gratitude, especially, is the quiet fuel of charisma. When you live from gratitude, your energy vibrates at the frequency of abundance. You stop radiating needs and start radiating fullness. People can feel it. They don't know why your presence feels different. They just know it feels good. That's what gratitude does. It transforms your energy from wanting to giving. It turns your charisma into generosity. The kind that doesn't need recognition, only connection. And that's when your light becomes legacy. Because legacy isn't built through achievement. It's carried through energy. It's in the way people remember your stillness, your laughter, your patience, your warmth. Even long after you've gone, your light keeps traveling through the stories told about you, through the kindness you inspired, through the lives you quietly touched. That's why charisma, at its highest level, isn't about attraction anymore. It's about transmission. You become a living current of energy, passing light forward, one heart at a time. And the more you give, the brighter you become. The paradox of charisma is that you never lose what you share. The more light you offer, the more light moves through you. You don't burn out. You become a channel. So keep sharing your wisdom, your kindness, your truth, not to impress, but to illuminate. Not to be remembered, but to awaken something eternal in others. Because that's what a true legacy is. Not a memory, but a mirror. Your light reflects the potential in others until they discover it in themselves. And one day, someone you inspired will carry that same light forward. They'll speak words that sound a bit like yours, or offer warmth that feels familiar. And in that moment, your energy will live again, reshaped, renewed, but undeniably yours. That's the beauty of charismatic legacy. It doesn't end. It evolves. So, as this book draws to its close, take a moment to feel how far you've come. From curiosity to awareness, from awareness to authenticity, from authenticity to energy, and now from energy to legacy. You've not just learned about charisma, you've become it. Your aura now carries the imprint of everything you've understood. Every insight, every pause, every breath that connected you back to yourself. You are the light you've been seeking, not a flicker, not a spark, but a steady flame. Humble, radiant, alive. Keep tending to it. Keep returning to presence when you drift. Keep choosing kindness when it's hard. Keep believing in your own warmth, even when the world grows cold. Because every act of grace sustains your charisma. Every moment of awareness strengthens it. Every breath of gratitude expands it. And one day, without effort, you'll realize you don't just have charisma anymore. You are charisma. A living, breathing embodiment of truth, light, and love. And long after your words fade, your energy will remain moving quietly through the hearts you've touched, illuminating corners of the world you may never see. That is your legacy of light. Conclusion, the light you carry forward, so here you are, at the edge of this journey. 15 chapters, thousands of words. But really, it all comes down to one truth. The most magnetic force in the world is not what you show, it's what you are. Charisma was never about being louder, brighter, or bolder than the rest. It was about remembering who you be, always bend before fear, before comparison, before the world told you to shrink. Every moment of this journey has been leading you back to yourself, to that still glowing core inside you that never stopped shining, even when life got heavy, even when you doubted your worth. That's where true charisma lives, not in your smile, but in your sincerity, not in your words, but in your awareness, not in the performance of confidence, but in the peace of being real. You are light. You always were. And now you know how to protect it. How to grow Italiano. How to share it. Because that est the final lesson of charisma. That est kept only for yourself flickers and fades. But light that's shared multiplies. So go out there and share it. Speak with kindness. Walk with grace. Make people feel safe in your presence. Remind them, through your calm, through your courage, through your laughter, that it's okay to be human, and it's okay to shine. Your energy will do more for this world than your words ever could. Your presence will heal more hearts than you'll ever realize. Carry your charisma gently, not as an armor, but as an offering. And let every room you enter be a little brighter because you walked in. That's the legacy of a truly charismatic soul. Not fame, not followers, but light that lingers. So if these words have touched you, if they've awakened something inside you, I want you to take this moment and pass that light forward. Share it. Let someone else feel what you've felt. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to stay connected, to keep walking this journey with me as we grow, evolve, and learn to live with more awareness, more purpose, and more light. So take a deep breath, smile softly, and if you found value here, like, share, and subscribe. Not for me, but for the ripple. Because every time this message travels further, another soul remembers their light. And maybe that's how the world changes, one awakened heart at a time. So go now, radiant one, shine quietly, love deeply, and never forget, your presence is your power, your energy is your legacy, and your light is forever.